Yes, even you, even me, everybody loves this song. Toxic by Britney Spears is perhaps one of her most iconic songs ever released. And since 2003, it has not slowed down in terms of its popularity and how much everybody loves it. And for those of you who maybe don't want to like this song, let me give you some reasons as to why it's perfectly okay and why I think this song has stood the test of time for almost 20 years as being a massive pop hit, one of the greatest hits in pop music history. I mean, you could stop right there and just be like, okay, wow. Something like that, and then what's going on there harmonically? I don't know. I mean, clearly we're in this like C minor thing, and then we just have the flat 5. But it really helps to create this kind of like, because it's essentially building around this diminished chord, and we're like, oh, that's unsettling.
Baby, can't you see?
Not to mention, this was Britney Spears' first Grammy, and it was for the video. It actually won Best Dance Recording in 2005. And actually another poll ranked it as the world's second favorite song of 2005. Behind, any guesses? It was actually We Are the Champions by Queen. Okay, so let's take a look at harmonically what's going on there during the verse. It works really great, check it out.
Baby, can't you see?
We're in C minor, remember?
A guy like you should wear a warning. It's dangerous. I'm flying.
Check that out. That's it. So it's just
There's no escape. I
C
can't
minor.
wait. I need a hit.
Sit there for a minute, then we go to
You're
E flat
dangerous.
major.
I'm loving it.
So it's basically a very quick setup to get to a 5 chord and then back. Now, one of the things I want you to keep in mind as we're going through this is what sort of modal environment are we establishing? And here's what I mean by that. If we can look at this chord and we say, well, this is our home base. We're calling this C minor. How would we fill in the rest of this chord to give ourselves the entire palette of notes on which we're building most of the song? Well, we have a number of options, and we can take other chords in the sequence into consideration to help us determine what the answer to that question is. So let's start with our C minor chord. We have a 1, a 3, and a 5. So those are defined. We know that. Well, our next chord is E flat. So that's gonna go ahead and give us what likely that 7th is. So we can add that in. And now it doesn't leave much left that we need to determine because we already have this C minor 7 shell. We just need to fill the rest of it in. So we go to our second and we say, what sounds better? Is it that or that? And I think the answer is pretty clearly the second one. This natural D there is certainly the best option there. Let's go to our fourth. We have another option to decide on with the fourth. It can either be the natural 4, or we could theoretically give it the sharp 4, which that is probably not going to be the answer, although it does sound kind of cool actually. But we're going to call it F. And that just leaves us with the question of what do we do about the 6th? We can either use the natural 6th, or we can use the flat 6th. Okay? And those two notes create different modes. If I were to use the flat 6th, we would be playing what's called C natural minor, or in its Greek mode name, it would be C Aeolian. But the other choice is to leave that 6th as the natural A. Now that creates a different mode, and the mode that creates is actually called Dorian. Very, very similar to Aeolian, but the only difference is that 6th, whether it's flat or natural. So we don't necessarily have the answer to that question of which mode are we actually in, but we can sort of use the context of the harmony to help us answer that question to the best of our knowledge based on the information we've been given so far. So we have 3 chords that we're dealing with. We have C minor, and we have E flat major. Very, very simple, basically the same chord, right? Now let's plug our 6th options into each of those. So A and A flat. And let's just see which one we think sounds best so far. That works pretty well. The natural A does work pretty well. Let's replace that with the A flat. That also works pretty well, to be honest. And I don't have enough information so far to determine what it actually is. Let's continue on. Our next chord after the E flat is our 5 chord. It leads us back to the C minor, and that is G major, or G dominant. Now this is where I think, and tell me in the comments if you hear it differently, but I think we have the answer to our question based on this chord, and let me explain to you why. Now let's play our A natural, our natural 6th, through the first 3 chords, not just the first 2. Check it out. Does it work? Yeah. It definitely does. It's not a wrong note, so to speak, but I'm not convinced it's the best option. Let's compare that now with the A flat, or our flat 6th from our Aeolian or natural minor scale. See? I think that because we're approaching a minor resolution, we're going to the home base of C minor. In that scenario, usually we see that A flat used more so than the A natural. Now, of course, that's not a rule, and it can absolutely be done either way because, as we demonstrated, they both work pretty well. But the context of moving to a minor home base will sometimes tell us that, okay, that's likely to be, when it's a 5 chord, that A flat is the flat 9. That's more so what we're likely to see. So I would, in that case, make the argument that based on the harmony in the verse, I would think we're in Aeolian. Now, this is an important distinction because it's what makes some of the parts of this form really interesting, and one of the reasons I think it's so catchy and has become so timeless and iconic. Check it out. Check that out. Now, that might be seemingly inconsequential at first glance, and you might just think, oh, it sounds kind of cool. But that's really cool, and let me show you why. So we go back to our top. There's our A natural. Now, we've just got done explaining why maybe we decide that the A flat is the right usage, okay? And I'm gonna tell you now that there are more clues later on that I think reinforce the fact that A flat is the correct usage. But in this context, we've now ditched the A flat and we have an entire melody that's based around the A natural. And it sticks out in our ear and it becomes like, whoa, we just had a modal shift. We just changed what mode we were working in from C Aeolian or C natural minor to C Dorian. Now, of course, the whole time, we're sitting on this C minor chord. So let's take a look at the notes of that melody, and they're really cool. Here's why. So we start on the 5th. Why? I don't know why it took me a second to think of. We start on the 5th, and we go 5, 6, natural 6 from that Dorian scale. Flat 7, but then we jump way up here to the 11th. Back to the 6, 5. 5, 6, flat 7, 11, 6, 5. That's just, I mean, the number of color tones, like we already established that this is our bass chord, right? C minor, and we can kind of add maybe the, we can basically add the 7th in there and call that part of the bass chord. But we're using 2 of the notes of that melody aren't even chord tones, they're color tones, and they're really nice ones at that. And the only thing we haven't defined here is the 9th, but that's kind of implied because that obviously wouldn't work. So we're using almost all the notes of the Dorian mode, and that melody sticks out to us because so far I feel like the context has implied that normally this note would be A flat instead, and the remainder of the harmony I think backs that up. Let's check it out. Watch this. Okay, what? That harmony is really cool. Let me show you what's going on there. So the chorus of Toxic, I think, is one of the more unique pop chord structures that we have seen. And it's perhaps one of the reasons why it is so iconic and it's so catchy and it's so, people seem to be drawn to it, because it's interesting and it's different from a lot of what we expect to see in maybe more mainstream, typical pop music. Let's check out what's going on there, because it's really cool. First thing I'm gonna do is play along with it, and then we'll break it down so you guys can see what's actually going on here, because it's really cool. Check it out. What? Check it out. Is it gonna be the same again? Nope, it's not. Okay, that is super cool. We start on C minor, and then we go up a minor third, and we do descending dominant chords in a pop song. Are you kidding me? Check it out. E flat dominant, D dominant, D flat dominant, but it gets even better. Watch this. Back to the one chord, back up to our minor third, E flat dominant, and what are we gonna do? Are we just gonna do the same walk down again? No, we're not. We're gonna go A flat dominant, back to our 5 chord. But here's why that's extra cool. What is the relationship between D and A flat? Because the first time through we used D, the second time through we used A flat, and the following chord, the first time through we used D flat, the second time through we used G. What is the relationship between D and A flat, and then D flat and G? They're tritones. What you just saw is Britney Spears in 2003 using a tritone substitution. Listen to it again. E flat dominant, D dominant, D flat dominant, E flat, tritone sub away from the D, tritone sub away from the G, from the D flat, up minor third, chromatically down. Technically these would be, I guess, tritone subs. And then we go flat 6, 5. It's unironically really good. But I think the thing that boggles my mind the most is, like, this is mainstream pop from the early 2000s, and it's using, to be honest, somewhat complex harmony in a really, really effective way, and it makes it sound so easy to hear. It's not dissonant, really, or super complicated to listen to. And that's one of the reasons I think it's so catchy, is because the melodies that are in here are very catchy, and they're packaged within harmony that's different enough to our ears to catch our ear, but not different enough to make us go, well, I don't get it. What's going on here? So really what you're left with are 2 sections. You have a verse that's based on a 1 chord, and then a flat 3 and a 5. That's kind of it. And then your chorus does that really clever up a minor third, and then walk down chromatically, and then the second time up a minor third again, tritone away from those, and uses the true flat 6, 5 resolution back to the 1. That is Toxic. And in terms of harmony, it's not toxic at all. It's really good. And it's harmony that we'll see used all over the place, including in jazz. In fact, you could literally just play this as though it was jazz, and it would work great. Hey, just a reminder, you still have a couple of days to get 50% off the Intro to Piano course so that you can learn to do stuff like that, and also learn how to listen to things like this and start to understand how they're constructed so that you can hear this stuff, learn how to play it on your own, and play basically anything you want. We have an entire Intro to Piano course that is designed to give you the tool set that you will need to start your journey in learning how to play this instrument. And we announced a 1-week-long 50% off sale last Friday, so that means you still have a couple days to take advantage of that. So use the link in the description below. You don't need a code or anything like that. If you've been thinking thinking about wanting to check out the Cornell Music Academy and see what the Intro to Piano course is like, this is your chance to do it at 50% off. That will end on Friday, so be sure to take advantage of that while you can, because that pricing is going to go away. It's over 170 videos packed with actionable steps and examples and things that you can use today to practice and get started on this instrument. We're going to take you from not having ever played it before to understanding how it's laid out and starting to understand how to play it, and some little things about music theory that you're going to need in your journey. So be sure to check out the link in the description below. It's the best way you can support the channel, because obviously this is going to get claimed. So if you want to support the channel and help us continue to do what we love to do, which is creating content for you guys, and get started in learning this instrument for yourself, that's the best way you can do it. Check out that link in the description below. Let me know in the comments below, what should we check out on the channel next? What else is out there? Shower me with your recommendations. I want to know. Just a reminder, check out the brand new episode of Odd Time. There is a thing for that, a link to that just after this. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
The first case of atonality was discovered in 1828 when Frédéric Chopin was playing at the Blue Note Jazz Club in NYC. A boy in the crowd named Tim Bob was not crying or having any reaction to Chopin's beautiful playing. Chopin stopped playing in the middle of his debut of Clair de Lune and said, "I'm sorry, but there is a boy in the crowd who isn't crying to my musical poetry. I can't do this."